Do we have any citizens signed up for public comment today?
We do have one citizen signed up regarding one of the land use cases today.
Okay, so we'll hear that during the public hearing section for that land use item. Anyone on any matters of general interest this morning? Not related to a land use that we'll be hearing later. Okay, seeing the lack of volunteers, do we have any elected officials communication? All right, y'all. Guess we're moving right along. Okay. The first item is our consent calendar. Do we have a motion on the consent calendar?
Second.
All those in favor? Passes unanimously. That gives us a little bit of an optical illusion that we're halfway done because we've got some land use matters. County manager, do you have any new business for us?
Good morning, Commissioners. The first and only item before you is a resolution approving an agreement between Adams County and Kutak Rock LLP to provide bond counsel service. And our finance director, Ben Dahlman, will be presenting this item.
Right. Good morning, Commissioners. As Ray said, Ben Dahlman, Finance Director, Adams County. Wanted to present to you the a proposed resolution and agreement with Kutak Rock, who provides bond counsel services to the county presently. We did an RFP for services again after the term was up, and we're selecting Kutak Rock to continue to provide that service. They provide great service, and we evaluated the various firms that submitted RFPs on their key personnel and relevant experience, and the pricing structure for the scope of work and the firm's qualification, experience, and work history in the Colorado Front Range market, and the firm's similar financing projects completed for clients within the last 5 years. We have bond counsel services agreement so that in the event that we do have a proposed financing or we need to evaluate what our current financing transactions are, they are available to us to provide that service. And the proposed principal in charge would be Mario Trimble, and then our tax person related to the engagement is Matthias Edrick. So we recommend approving the agreement with Kutak Rock, and we've coordinated with the county attorney's office because these are legal services. May I answer any questions?
Does anyone have any questions about the packet proposal or the presentation? Seeing no questions, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, move to approve the resolution approving an agreement between Adams County and Kutak Rock LLP to provide bond counsel services.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second. Passes unanimously. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No other business.
County Attorney?
Good morning, Commissioners. Although it is not on your agenda, an item has come up that I would request an executive session for, and that is pursuant to Colorado Revised Statute 246402 4B and E for the purpose of receiving legal advice and instructing negotiators regarding the McKinney claim.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
move to approve to go into executive session pursuant to the terms just outlined by our county attorney.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Commissioner Odoricio?
Yes.
Commissioner Hodge?
Aye.
Commissioner Henry?
Yes.
Commissioner Tedesco?
Yes.
Commissioner Pinter?
Yes.
Thank you. No further business.
Okay. All right, moving right along, we have our land use hearing. The first one is the McIntosh roadway vacation. Do you need a few minutes to set up? Okay, so we'll take a 5-minute recess. Welcome back. We'll get started again with our first land use matter.
All right. Thank you and good morning, Commissioners. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but my name is Holden Pedersen, and I'm presenting the McIntosh roadway vacation today, case number VAC 2019-2. And this roadway vacation request would vacate 247.12 linear feet, or 14,328 square feet, of the West 157th Place public right-of-way. West 157th Place was platted as part of the Highland Acres third filing subdivision, which was originally approved in 1968. And the aerial map on the screen shows 157th Place running horizontally through the middle of the image. Elmira Street runs vertically through the middle of the image. And although West 157th Place has not yet been constructed, it is located to the left of Elmira Street between 6 smaller undeveloped lots and 1 larger developed lot. Meanwhile, East 157th Place is located to the right of Elmira Street between 8 developed lots. And this roadway vacation request is one of 3 applications associated with the subject properties and the West 157th Place right-of-way. These applications include separate but related roadway vacation, roadway dedication, and lot line vacation requests. According to the Adams County Development Standards and Regulations, the roadway vacation must be approved only by the Board of County Commissioners through a public hearing. The roadway dedication can be approved by the Planning Commission and the Board of County Commissioners on consent. Meanwhile, the lot line vacation can be approved administratively by the Director of the Community and Economic Development Department. And this is the vacation plat that was submitted by the applicant. As you can see from this image, West 157th Place is represented as Plot 49 through the middle here on the plat. And in the top right section of this image, you can see Lot 1 of the Highland Acres third filing, First Amendment, which went through a similar modification process in 2003 by removing the lot line that separated 2 existing smaller lots in order to create 1 new larger lot. And the applicant intends to leave the original lots 3 and 4 in the bottom right corner of this image undeveloped and vacant, which is why they are not proposing to combine the 2 as part of this overall request. And this overall request represents the Second Amendment to the Highland Acres third filing, and the applicant owns all of the properties located along West 157th Place to the north and the south. On this slide, you can see the current layout within this portion of the subdivision that includes 4 existing lots that are each approximately half an acre in size and are located along the left portion of West 157th Place. The existing undeveloped public right-of-way is represented by the green area shown in this image. And the overall request is intended to combine 4 existing lots into 2 new, larger lots while vacating the furthest west portion of the public right-of-way within each of the 2 new lots and dedicating an eastern portion of each of the 2 new lots into the existing public right-of-way. The purpose of the overall request is to create 2 new lots that are approximately 1.26 acres in size and that receive access from a shorter public right-of-way that does not encroach further into the subject properties than is required in order to provide access and emergency vehicle turnaround. Meanwhile, the applicant is proposing to construct 2 single-family homes on the new, larger lots so that his immediate family can live next door on larger properties than were originally platted by the subdivision, similar to the applicant's current existing larger property in the top right corner of this image. And this illustrates and separates each component of the overall request so you can follow me a little better. The purple represents the 2 new larger lots that would be created by removing the existing lot lines and vacating the public right-of-way. The blue represents the public right-of-way that would be vacated and integrated into the new larger lots. The red represents the public right-of-way that would be dedicated in order to provide for a new cul-de-sac and emergency vehicle turnaround. And the green represents the existing public right-of-way that would not change. And it's important to note that this request only addresses the blue portion or the right-of-way vacation component of the overall project. And here you can see an aerial view of this portion of the subdivision, including the existing larger lot created through the First Amendment to the subdivision. Here you can see the current zoning throughout the Highland Acres subdivision, as well as throughout the surrounding properties, which is Agriculture 1. And most of the lots in this subdivision were originally platted at approximately ½ an acre in size, although there are other existing lots located to the south and the southeast, as well as throughout the larger subdivision, that are approximately an acre in size and have similar layouts to the applicant's proposal. Although the proposed new lots would not meet the minimum lot size of 2½ acres for the Agriculture 1 zone district, this overall request would create 2 larger lots than currently exist and would not increase the existing nonconformity as it was platted by the subdivision in 1968. Instead, the overall request would decrease the existing nonconformity by creating 2 larger lots than currently exist. And here you can see that the future land use designation for the subject property and the entirety of the Highland Acres subdivision is urban residential. Then a few images of the surrounding area. This is a view looking north up Elmira Street. The applicant's existing single-family home located on the larger lot is not shown on this image, but it's located to the left of Elmira Street from this view. And this is a view looking down east 157th Place, which is already constructed and provides access to the existing lots along this portion of the right-of-way. This is a view looking south down Elmira Street. The applicant's property is located on the right side of this image. And this is a view looking west down the platted and designated but undeveloped west 157th Place. Here you can see that the majority of the applicant's properties in this subdivision are currently vacant, except for some existing agricultural structures and fencing. And access to the newly created lots would be taken approximately through the middle of this image, and West 157th Place would be connected to Elmira Street at this approximate location. And so during the referral period, 13 notices were sent out to surrounding property owners that abut the lots that would be directly affected by the proposed roadway vacation. We received 1 response from a neighbor stating that they did not have any objections to the request. Referral agencies responding without concerns included the Brighton Fire Rescue District, Tri-County Health Department, and Excel Energy. And the following are the criteria of approval for roadway vacation. Those criteria include compliance with the county's standards and regulations, that non-conforming lots are not created or nonconformity is not increased, compliance with the purpose and intent of the county's subdivision regulations, that approval will not harm public health, safety, and welfare, that land is not left without an established public road or private access easement, and that if the roadway is a state or federal highway, that approval by the State Transportation Commission has been granted, but that's not the case with this project. And as previously mentioned, this request would decrease the existing nonconformities in the Agriculture 1 zone districts rather than increase any nonconformities. The request would comply with the purpose and intent of the subdivision regulations, as it would result in some of the last remaining vacant lots in the subdivision being developed and the West 157th Place public right-of-way being constructed in order to provide access to the newly created lots. And there's also never been a connection designated by the original subdivision for West 157th Place to extend further west, as the subject property's west property line represents a boundary of the Highland Acres subdivision. So in conclusion, based off of compliance with the criteria of approval Staff is recommending approval of the roadway vacation request with 6 findings of fact and 2 notes. And the following are the findings of fact, as well as the 2 recommended notes to the applicant. Those notes are intended to remind the applicant to obtain building permit approval for the proposed single-family dwellings that would be built on the newly created lots, and also to remind the applicant that if they do not intend to construct West 157th Place according to county standards, that a roadway maintenance agreement must be established for the remaining portion of the public right-of-way and approved separately by the Board of County Commissioners. This roadway must be built to local fire district standards, and new access permits must be obtained from the Community and Economic Development Department prior to receiving building permit approval for the proposed single-family dwellings. And that concludes my presentation. I appreciate the time the members of the board have spent considering this request today, and I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tedesco, I believe, has some questions.
So first a comment, did you put this presentation together?
I did.
That was a good job. I really appreciate the way that you put it together, the things that you included, how you highlighted everything. That was a really enjoyable and understandable presentation. Thank you. I do have one question though. Is this roadway part of a bigger network of roadways? Was there any consideration of connectivity that may or may not be lost?
As it was originally platted in the Highland Acres subdivision, there's no connectivity to the subdivision located to the west. That public right-of-way is intended to end at a cul-de-sac and only serve those 8 lots along West 157th Place.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Anything else from my colleagues? Okay, thank you so much, and I agree on the clarity of the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have something from the applicant?
Good morning, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be in front of you this morning. And
Good morning, good sir. Could you please introduce yourself? I
I'm
believe
sorry.
you are known, but for the record.
I'm Mike McIntosh, and owner of the properties there, along with my wife Kathy and my daughter, who is going to inherit one of those lots so that she can put a house on there. And you can see my granddaughter is also there, which is one of the reasons why we are wanting to move forward with this. Lot 1 would go to my son and his family, and Lot 2 to my daughter and her family. And to your question, Commissioner, those 2 lots that are directly behind us in Todd Creek, we adjoin properties, so there's that roadway has never been designed to go through. But good morning. It's good to see you all again. You look great, and thank you for your time.
Good morning, good sir. Any questions from my colleagues? Commissioner Odoricio.
Yes, I think it would probably be wise if your son and daughter would want to have coffee with me. We could talk about living around family. You're building your own little mini compound there, and I can love to be able to talk to them about that. No, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Seeing no other comments, thank you so much. Do we have any members of the public who signed up to speak on this land use matter?
We do not.
Okay. Thank you so much for the good presentation and hearing from the applicant and providing the color on why you're making the application. Do we have any questions or a motion from my colleagues?
Madam Chair, I would move to approve the approval of the roadway vacation request with 6 findings of fact and 2 notes.
Second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Congratulations and best of luck on your family homes.
Is it just the vacation for now, you said?
That's it.
That's all? Yeah.
I know that staff had some IT issues earlier. Are you ready to go for the next presentation?
We think so.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Greg Barnes with the Adams County Community and Economic Development Department, and the next case before you is the Project Flatiron rezoning case. It's located at 7420, 7430, 7436, and 7450 Clayton Street. Also, 2761 East 74th Avenue is included in this request. The rezoning application before you covers a cumulative amount of 1 acre. It is currently zoned residential 1C, which is a single-family residential zone district. The proposal would change the zone designation on this property to industrial 1. The 5 subject properties are shown here. They are on the east side of Clayton Street, just north of State Highway 224. The zoning map, as I mentioned, is currently residential 1C, and the request would change the zone designation on these properties to industrial 1. The county's comprehensive plan is mixed-use employment, and this is where the county intends to see employment centers where business parks and light logistics parks would be located. The applicant is proposing that for this area. So a little background, on October 10th, the Board of County Commissioners approved a preliminary plat for Project Flatiron, which included these 5 properties and 32 other acres located to the east of this site. At that time, a rezoning was approved for the 32 acres, but this 1 acre was left out of the rezoning because these lots did not meet the minimum lot size at that time for industrial 1 zoning. This is the entire 33-acre site, and as you can see, these 5 properties are located here. At today's consent agenda, the final plat was approved, consolidating all of this into a single 33-acre lot, and that's why you're seeing the rezoning following it. The applicant is proposing that there be 3 light industrial buildings to be a business park or a light logistics center in this area, known as Project Flatiron, and it would be located throughout the 33 acres with 3 buildings, 1 fronting Highway 224. The 5 properties that are the subject of the rezoning are here along Clayton Street. The preliminary plat, which was approved in October, and the final plat, which was approved minutes ago, combines all of this into a single 33-acre lot. Closer view of these properties shows that these 5 former lots are developed with single-family houses, which are being abandoned and demolished. The criteria for approving a rezoning includes consistency with the comprehensive plan, consistency with the purpose of our regulations, compliance with the minimum zone district standards, and compatibility and harmony with the surrounding area. The subject sites are located here. This is largely the Welby area, and this slide illustrates a zoning map from 1999. As you can see, this area intended to be, what at that time was mostly agricultural, with a few pockets of light industrial uses. And as you can see, over the last 20 years, this area has become increasingly industrial along the southern edges of the Welby sub-area. The minimum lot size in the I-1 zone district is 1 acre, and the applicant has proposed a 32.7 acre lot. The minimum lot width is 100 feet, and the lot, when combined, is now 1,500 feet in lot width. When all the setbacks are assessed on this property for I-1, it will be allowed to, the building envelope will be large enough to construct the proposed development. Water is provided by North Washington Street Water and Sanitation. That's been confirmed by the Colorado Division of Water Resources, and electric service is provided by Xcel Energy. A few images just to show you what the site looks like. This is looking north on Clayton Street. Highway 224 is behind me. And then I have images of the 4 properties that are developed with single-family homes that are the subject of these rezonings. During the referral period, we notified all property owners and occupants of structures within 1,000 feet. We sent 31 notices. We did not get any comments on this case. We also notified referral agencies in the area, none of which had objections to the rezoning application. So in summary, this request is consistent with the comprehensive plan in the Welby sub-area. It complies with the minimum zone district standards, and it is compatible with the surrounding area. The Planning Commission heard this case on February 13th. No members of the public were available to speak at the hearing. The Planning Commission did encourage preservation of the existing landscaping along Clayton Street, but the Planning Commission and staff is recommending approval of this rezoning with 4 findings of fact. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't see any questions from my colleagues. Do we have anything from the applicant? Please come down and introduce yourself and state your address for the record.
Sure. Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin O'Connor with Suncat Property Group, address 1125 17th Street, Suite 800, Denver, Colorado. I didn't prepare a presentation because you guys had seen it previously, but we're excited to be part of the Adams County community and look forward to bringing jobs and investment deserving of this area. I have nothing further, though.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from my colleagues? All right, thank you so much. Do we have any members of the public signed up to speak on this land use matter?
We do not.
Is there anyone who would like to speak on this matter? Okay, seeing no one come down for the public, do we have a question or a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that RCU 2019-00055, Project Flatiron, be approved with 4 findings of fact.
All right, motion and a second. All those in favor? Passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on to our next one, Dream Acres. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Layla Bajlan. I'm with the Community and Economic Development Department. And the case before you today is PRC 2018-00025, and this is the JRJK Dream Acres. And the address of the subject request is 13830 and 13850 Franklin Street. So in this request, the applicant is requesting a major subdivision preliminary plat to reconfigure lot lines to create 3 lots from the existing 3 parcels. The total acreage of the proposed subdivision would be roughly 40 acres, and the second request is to rezone roughly 35 acres of the proposed subdivision from Agricultural 3 to Agricultural 1. So this is an aerial image of the location of the subject parcels. The parcels are located off of Franklin Street and are surrounded by the Wadley Farms subdivision, which is a square-mile portion of unincorporated Adams County that is completely surrounded by the city of Thornton. The area is bordered by Washington Street to the west, East 144th Avenue to the north, York Street to the east, and East 136th Avenue to the south. So this is a close-up aerial of the subject parcels. All parcels are accessed from Franklin Street to the west. Currently, 2 of the parcels are developed with single-family homes and the associated accessory structures. The large 35-acre parcel is currently undeveloped, but does contain some oil and gas equipment in the northeast corner of the parcel. So this next image shows the current zoning of the parcels. 2 of the 3 parcels are zoned as Agricultural 1, and the large 35-acre parcel is zoned as Agricultural 3. The parcels are surrounded by the Wadley Farms subdivision, which is entirely zoned as Agricultural 1, and there is some scattered A3 and A2 zoning off to the west of the subject parcels. All areas where you see the aerial image is within the city of Thornton. So this image shows what the zoning would look like if the rezoning request were to be approved today. Due to the redistribution of lot lines, the parcel will fall below the 35-acre minimum threshold for the A3 zone. The rezone to A1 would allow for the parcel to be more compatible with the surrounding area, as the purpose of the A1 zone is to provide a rural single-family dwelling district with a rural living experience. Even though the area is completely surrounded by the city of Thornton, the area boasts a rural lifestyle and gravel roads that are beloved by the neighborhood residents. The A1 zone district would also restrict the uses on the property, which would reduce the potential impacts to the surrounding area. The future land use designation for all 3 parcels and everything surrounding it is estate residential. The estate residential future land use designation is for single-family housing at lower densities, typically no greater than 1 unit per acre. And it's intended to provide for limited opportunities for ex-urban or rural lifestyles within the county. So a little bit of background on the subject parcels. Several years ago in 2015, the 35-acre A3 property was the proposed location of the Wadley Farms well pad. Synergy Resources Corporation proposed to construct a 20-well well pad on this parcel, which would have been the first large urban mitigation facility within the county. Due to the significant amount of pushback the operator received, the well pad was relocated to a parcel north of Wadley Farms and away from the residents. This new site, named the Ivy Well Pad, was permitted by the Board of County Commissioners in 2017 with the condition that the operator never allow the Wadley Farms property to be drilled for oil and gas. After the approval of the Ivy Well Pad, Ward Petroleum sold the surface development rights to the applicant, and the relocation of the well pad protected the neighborhood from being within a couple hundred feet of a large oil and gas facility. And this was the first major success story where citizens came together to pressure operators to find a more appropriate location for drilling. So the criteria for rezoning approval include consistency with a comprehensive plan, that it's consistent with the purpose of the development standards, that it complies with the development standards, and it's harmonious and compatible with the surrounding area. And the criteria for a major subdivision preliminary plat include consistency with a comprehensive plan, that it's consistent with the purpose of the development standards and regulations, that it conforms to the subdivision design standards, that the applicant has provided proof of sufficient water supply and evidence of a sewage disposal system, that any topographical issues have been identified, and that there's adequate drainage improvements, and that the subject plat shows conformance with the density standards of the subject zone district, and it's harmonious and compatible to the surrounding area. So this is an image of the proposed preliminary plat. The plat will create one new lot, which is Lot 3, and this will consist of approximately 5.4 acres and have 380 feet of lot width. Lot 2 will incorporate additional acreage into the existing lot and will consist of 7.3 acres and have 513 feet of lot width. Lot 1, which is the subject of the rezone request, will now consist of 27 acres and have 233 feet of lot width. Easements and buffers for the oil and gas facility are indicated on the plat, so therefore the plat conforms with all the dimensional standards for the A1 zone district, including a minimum lot size of 2.5 acres and a minimum lot width of 150 feet. The Department of Water Resources has confirmed that all lots will be able to be served by individual residential wells, and Tri-County Health Department has confirmed that a septic system can be permitted for each individual lot. As previously indicated, the future land use designation is estate residential. Rezoning the property to A1 would allow for the property to be in conformance with the future land use designation, as the compatible zone districts would be A1, A2, or R3, and not agricultural 3. Rezoning the property to a zone district that is consistent with the comprehensive plan will advance the county's long-term goal for providing estate residential areas and supporting the need for housing within the county. In addition to being consistent with the future land use designation, the request would be supported by the comprehensive plan, as we have specific policies to allow estate residential development only where a similar land use pattern is already established or where such pattern may be appropriately extended. So here are a couple images of the site. This image is looking to the northeast along Franklin Street, and you can see the two developed single-family homes off to the right-hand side of the screen. This is an image looking to the north along Franklin Street. As previously mentioned, the roads are gravel and do not have sidewalks, and the neighborhood feels very strongly about keeping their neighborhood as is and have pushed back against changing the agrarian character of the area. This is an image looking to the southeast at the large 35-acre undeveloped parcel. And this road here would be the access road to the oil and gas equipment. And you can see the two developed single-family homes on the right-hand side of the screen. With the approval of this request, one additional single-family home can be built on the newly created lot. So this is an image looking to the east along the access road. This image shows the existing oil and gas equipment on the property, and you can see here just how close that Wadley Farms well pad would be to the surrounding residents. So during the referral period, staff notified all property owners and occupants within 1,000 feet of the subject site. A total of 90 notifications were sent and 6 comments were received. 5 of these comments were in support of the proposed preliminary plat and rezone request, and 1 comment was not in opposition, but it did have concerns over the water availability for the newly created lot. However, the Department of Water Resources has confirmed that the lot can be permitted with a residential well. We also notified several referral agencies throughout this process, and no referral agencies were opposed to the rezone or major subdivision preliminary plat, but several had comments that related to the future development of the site, and those comments have been given to the applicant and have been added as notes to this case as well. This case was heard at the Planning Commission on February 13th. No major concerns were identified, and no members of the public were there to testify in support or against the subdivision. And the Planning Commission recommended approval 6-0 of the subject requests. So staff today has determined that the following request is consistent with the criteria of approval, it's consistent with the future land use designation, and it complies with the comprehensive plan. So staff today recommends approval of the proposed major subdivision preliminary plat and rezoning with 13 findings of fact and 5 notes. And here are the recommended findings of fact and notes to the applicant, and it's important to note that the preliminary plat approval shall expire on February 25th, 2022 if a final plat application is not submitted to the Community Economic Development Department. And that concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Do my colleagues have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Tedesco.
So I do have a question. Can you go back to the 3 new lots that you had outlined? That one. So I guess, pardon my ignorance, but you're creating 3 new lots, and this would allow for a new dwelling. The new dwelling would be on lot 1 or lot 3?
The new dwelling could be permitted on Lot 3. There are currently 3 parcels there. This is more of a redistribution of lot lines to create the 3 lots.
So I guess and again, pardon for my ignorance, but you have increasing the lot size of the second property in, and it goes beyond his property lines. And so I guess could you explain why that is and how that works?
Yeah, the applicant presentation is next.
That's
Sure.
fine, and if you want to refer to the applicant, that's fine.
So I believe the purpose, and the applicant will certainly elaborate on this as well, but the property owners, the 2 property owners adjacent to the 35-acre parcel went in and purchased the property together. And so this is resulting in larger properties, or an enlargement of properties for both of those property owners, and then they're creating an additional lot out of it as well. But again, I think they'll talk a little bit about that in their discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else from my colleagues? All right, the applicant presentation. So if the applicant could come down, introduce themselves and state your address. And if you have a presentation, that's great, or if you just have remarks, that works too.
Hi, my name is James J. Hill. I go by Jay, and I'm the owner of 13830 Franklin Street, which would be part of the Lot 1 on the drawing there. And I think that when this application is put forth in front of you as a major subdivision and the rezoning, it really complicates your interpretation or your feelings of what's being asked for today. To more simplify it, there's 3 existing parcel numbers: my house, my neighbor's house, and the 35 acres. 3 existing parcel numbers, and when we get done with all this, it's going to be the exact same 3 parcel numbers. That all we're talking about here is a lot line adjustment and we're not adding extra properties. We're not, and they're through the county's terminology, you're saying we're adding another, we're creating a new lot. We're not even creating a new lot. We're shrinking the 35 acres. We're increasing the size of the other two existing lots. And before we purchased this property, I came down to talk to the planning department, and they said, yeah, you're looking at a simple lot line adjustment. We can do it staff. We don't have to go through public hearings or anything else. But I guess I got wrong advice, or it was just erroneously that they didn't realize that the 35 acres was not part of Wally Farms subdivision. It had not been subdivided. It was still a meets and bounds property. So that's what caused, after we purchased the property, came down to do the lot line adjustments, then it was exposed at that time that we're going to have to do a major subdivision. And we're not like any other major subdivision. We're not dividing this up to put in 50 houses or anything like that, streets, roads, curbs, gutters, any of it. So we don't fit into any of the categories that are part of major subdivision. And so to answer your question, we're just making the two existing lots bigger, and we're shrinking the 35 acres down to one 5.5 acre parcel to resell. And that 35 acres is approved by a right of use to build a house on that 35 acres. So we're not changing anything. We're not adding any density. Everything is staying exactly the same except the fence lines. The parcel numbers, everything. And I don't know if that helps simplify it in what you're looking at, but that's exactly what we're doing.
Thank you for that. Do my colleagues have any questions? All right, thank you for that detailed explanation. I don't see any questions. Do we have any members of the public who are signed up?
Yes, Stu Nyholm.
Okay, so if you could give us a minute, we'll hear from the public. You can just take a seat down front. Thank you so much. So please come on down, introduce yourself, and give your address. And you'll have 3 minutes.
Good morning, Commissioners. Stuart Nyholm, 13789 Franklin Street. I live kitty corner to the proposed application by the Nelsons and the Hills. I'm fully in support of what they're planning at the present time. I can also report that this has been discussed with our HOA board. Our HOA board has had no questions. Although I can't speak for them formally as a board, I can report that it has been discussed with the board and there are no questions. What I'd also like to do is thank really the Board of Commissioners as well as for the Hills and the Nelsons for now making it totally impossible for there being any kind of oil or gas development in those 35 acres. Thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else from the public?
That was everyone.
Okay, is there anyone else from the public who didn't get a chance to sign up who would like to speak? All right, given that, do my colleagues have any questions or is there a motion?
Madam Chair, first off, I'd like to say thank you to both the applicant and our staff. Staff, you answered my question the way that I think you clarified for me what I was asking, and I appreciate the follow-up from the applicant. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve PRC 2018-00025 with 13 findings of facts and 5 notes.
Is there a second? I see the button got pressed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Passes unanimously. Thank you for your presentation and all of your explanations. So thank you. It's my understanding that that's the conclusion of our meeting. Have a good morning, all. We'll see you upstairs for study session.